All right, thanks, Mike, PK, and Dirk, and Giancarlo for the invitation to be here. So I was asked to say, does this topic excite me, the EXITE ISR trial? So am I excited about EXITE ISR? Well, there's a randomized control study that we're going to look at briefly, and I know one of the authors pretty well. He's kind of an exciting guy, so we should be excited, right? Well, let's see how far that excitement will go. All right, so the background of this, we know, we've heard a million times, in-stent restenosis is a huge, huge problem. And none of us expect or would ever believe that balloon angioplasty alone is going to treat this very effectively. And before that, before this trial, there was no other FDA on-label device for treating in-stent restenosis other than poking it with a balloon. Do any of us think this will work? The answer is no. We're going to see it works extremely poorly, and as you've just seen, partly because of this watery sponge composition, which is kind of a hydrated collagen matrix. And furthermore, when you balloon that, the mechanism of a balloon is to cause a dissection, and these little channels actually, if anything, attract further water into there, and one of the reasons that they don't work. And this is just one study showing the really poor performance of balloon angioplasty in the longer lesions with a restenosis at a few years of about 90%, not something that we can feel very good about. There have been 4 randomized trials in ISR, 3 different mechanisms, all 4 compared against angioplasty, and all 4 angioplasty lost and lost badly and performed poorly. Laser, with its unique mechanism of action with photoablation and vaporization, would be expected to potentially perform better with water, clot, and the mixtures of plaque morphologies. And instead of wringing it out like we do with a balloon in this watery substance, perhaps create a channel with ablation. So that was a background for EXITE. Here's the design and results very briefly. The safety endpoint was a composite of MAE events, death, or event related to the leg at 37 days, and the efficacy endpoint was freedom from TLR at 6 months. The study was actually stopped prematurely because of a benefit, and it was a 2-to-1 randomization of laser and angioplasty versus angioplasty alone. Importantly, this was a real-world study. There was no lesion length whatsoever. You allowed stent fractures and popliteal stents. So it was a truly real-world study. And you see this here with the 19-plus mean lesion length, and 20% of them were more than 30 centimeters, so real-world lesions. For the results, when you look at the adjudicated complications during the procedure itself, they were significantly lower across almost all groups looked at in the laser arm compared to the angioplasty arm. And if you looked at the primary safety endpoint, it was significantly better with laser than it was with balloon alone in in-stent restenosis. And the primary efficacy endpoint was significantly better with laser than angioplasty alone, especially if you looked at the per protocol analysis. These are just the Kaplan-Meier curves of that same thing, but I want you to look at the numbers a little bit to see how excited we should be, especially when you look at the primary patency. Yes, laser was better in terms of primary patency, but at 6 months and in 1 year, look at the performance of angioplasty. And not real exciting, perhaps, even with laser once you get out further. You've seen this already. The bottom line is short laser doesn't matter as much. Long lesions, there's more benefit of the laser of debulking. So for this trial itself, it did conclude and was published that the laser and angioplasty was clearly superior to angioplasty alone for ISR treatment. It was level 1 data showing a benefit of atherectomy and lower extremity intervention, and it's the only on-label treatment at the time for treating this. Now, if you ask Chris, what's your excitement level? Well, I'm excited that laser and angioplasty is better, especially in longer lesions, but I'm not completely satisfied with the long-term results. And I really believe that we need to, as we talked about recently here, combine this with 2018 technology. So here's my FemPop strategy. I use atherectomy to remove the plaque, either laser or Jetstream. I use distal embolic protection. I think it's important. After that, though, I think you have to have biologic treatment. And here's my strategy. If it looks good after atherectomy and angioplasty, then I'll use DCBs. If there's a lot of debris remaining after that strategy, or if they failed several DCBs, then we'll reline with Viabon, both of which give you a biologic effect. I think we need to remember the cost perspective of this, especially from your buddies in the hospital world. If you think about this, the additive cost of atherectomy and non-reimbursed embolic protections, non-reimbursed DCBs, and or expensive covered stents really cost a lot during that. And furthermore, you may decrease readmissions, which is good, but the hospital sometimes gets paid for these. So you're getting them at both ends. And so we may help the patient, but not necessarily make best friends with our CEOs. And with his case, this guy sent to me, literally drive 13 hours from Arkansas. He'd had 2 failed attempts at recrossing this occlusion. It was occlusion down to the trifurcation. We were able to cross this within the true lumen. Here is a wire in the AT here and in the PT there. And because it was a trifurcation, we actually used 2 protection systems and laser, and then atherotomy and IVUS guidance, followed by DCBs throughout there, and able to get a really nice result. And it's actually been durable to 3.5 years that you can see down to the trifurcation. So in conclusion, EXITE ISR provided us level 1 data, and it shows that laser and angioplasty is superior to angioplasty alone. Angioplasty alone doesn't work well. We probably shouldn't use it except maybe some very short lesions. The optimal strategy today really is going to be a combination of individualized therapy, looking at atherectomy with embolic protection potentially, and then treating with a biologic effect, and or treating the underlying cause as Andre did with the stent fractures. And again, cost analysis considerations are going to be very important. And I'd like to thank you very much for your attention.